for them and it's important for us to have all of that stuff cleared out ahead of time. So when 911 shows up and they see the documentation, they said, okay, yeah, your mother had this signed. It was documented. We had it filed with our lawyer. The notary public was there. She signed off on it. Everything was, as firm and as possible, because honestly, those were her wishes. And for me, it was important that we follow her wishes to the T. So everything that happened for her, she knew she wanted. She did not want any problems for her kids. And she did not leave any problems for her kids. She paid for everything ahead of time. She wanted her cremation. She knew what she wanted. So we contacted the cremation. We contacted Klein Funeral Homes, and they were fantastic. They came and they picked her up. And at the end of the day, we had all of that situated. So please have those conversations with your elderly. I know it's not an easy conversation to have. It's actually quite difficult. But
yeah, it's very difficult.
But if anything, please talk to them about hospice care if that comes to that. We used Silverado Hospice, and they were wonderful. They were lovely. They took care of her and everything and in every way possible. So for sure, please have those conversations as much as you can. I know they're not easy, but they've made a huge difference. And so for us, at the end of the day, we're doing exactly what my mother wanted.
What was the name of the funeral home?
Klein
Funeral Home. Yeah, we actually had Googled them.
Yeah, because...
yeah, we had actually... Lucy has said that she had paid for a cremation. That part wasn't paid for.
But she had said that she wanted to
have
be
it cremation,
paid. Yeah, cremated, yeah.
And I think at that time when you were thinking about talking to her about having that conversation, she was kind of in the middle of
of her sickness.
Yeah. And none of us thought that it would go this fast, and it just kind of popped out of nowhere. But we actually Googled, because the hospice care has said, well, you got to find somebody because your mom can't stay here overnight.
So there's a thing called direct to cremation. You don't have to do funeral, because my mom did not want any of that. So we just knew we wanted direct to funeral, and that's where we Googled direct to funeral.
Right.
Direct to cremation.
Yes.
I'm sorry, direct to cremation.
And the price they actually had on Google was exactly, and they were like half and even almost like 1.5 times less than everybody else that had advertised it.
Of course,
and so we just picked it. And I told Lisa, this is bullshit.
Yeah, there's no way it's
I said, there's
cheap.
always that cheap compared to everybody else, right?
Yeah,
you can't possibly, the market, rules the roost. And Lisa shows up a couple of days later after her mom's passing, or it was the next day. It was next day, 8:30, right?
So by the way, they came. I called the Klein Funeral Homes, and I said, my mother just passed.
Right.
Hospice care took care of sending all the information. They also confirmed with their doctor, because hospice care has a doctor that has to document everything, and they sign off on the patient, by the way. It's not, funeral home doesn't just come and pick up a body. They have to be certified and confirmed
there's
from
a
doctor.
Right.
There's a procedure from the hospice care, which was Silverado Hospice, which was lovely. And so Klein Funeral Homes came that afternoon. My mother passed at about 6:10 or something like that.
It was sooner, but that's when they called it. That's when
it was certified by the emergency, by the 911, and then Klein Funeral Homes came later. And so what I said to them is my mother requested direct to cremation. She didn't want any other thing. She was very clear. It's confirmed in her documentation. So they looked at it. They said, fine, we can take her body now and we will store it. And as soon as the hospice care doctor signs off on it, she will be cremated. So that's exactly what happened the next day.
Yeah.
On that Wednesday morning, we meet up with him. My father and I come by. My sister comes. They get our IDs. They get all of our information. And at that point, we pay for her death certificates as well. We got 10 certified copies just because it was important for us to know that we could have enough copies for everything that's
happening. We got good advice from your
brother-in-law. We got good advice from my brother-in-law.
Because his father had passed several years ago.
And so he said, you're going to need at least 10.
Right.
Yeah,
because you got to hand it to your financial folks. You got to hand it to Social Security, medical, all that
Social
kind of stuff,
Security, So then that was taken care of, and all that it came down to was $2,052 at the end of the day, because it was cremation, her death certificate, and then the transportation from the house to the crematorium, which was also a fee. But it really honestly wasn't too bad considering how much a funeral can cost these days. She made it as easy and as seamless as possible for us, and I think that is the ultimate gift she gave her kids.
Yeah, I think
as she left this earth.
Very practical.
Very practical and beautiful. And the other thing I just want to comment is I just want people to just be more aware and just conscientious that when you're sending your well wishes to the family, is it you're conscientious of religious, what is it? It's non-religious, religious connotations. Or, yeah. Or greetings, because we're not a religious family. I'm not a religious girl. A lot of her kids are not. So just be conscientious that you're not like offering prayers all the time, that maybe you're offering love and support.
Yes.
I think that means so much more to us as people.
Have respect for their...
Have respect for them.
Not be narcissistic or
right.
Put,
Also, my mother died a Catholic. She was a cafeteria Catholic. She wasn't a consumed Catholic.
Yeah.
She didn't want prayer. She didn't want any of that. She didn't want any church services. She didn't want any mass. So the only thing I would say is for those of you out there, just be conscientious that not all families follow that framework of
right.
everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
You do a church, you do a service, you do a funeral, et cetera, et cetera. Not everybody has that. And it's really nice if those people who are like aware of that and like know not to send us prayers and are very sweet about sending love and support and sending flowers, sending food. And I think that's so thoughtful and so lovely because that's who we were as a family, and it's something that we've always had, and so it's super beautiful to have that sort of thing and that support. But be very, very aware of those things too, because, it just makes it a lot more better when people are conscientious of those things, right. For sure. Yeah. But definitely that's our experience for the last few weeks. I think if anything, I'm available to just talk things through with any of you if you want to talk about it, if you have a person in elderly care, if you're a sandwich, if you're in the middle of taking care of parents and kids, I want to know about that. One thing that Rusk and I always have committed to is teaching and like serving and helping others in any way that we can. I know that this is not an easy conversation to have, but if it can be done and it's possible, and if we can help in any way, just know that we're here to support that for you. And we've gone through it now. And if anything, we can be a support and a good system for you all to just fall back on.
It was a great way to end your season. I know it was on more of a somber note, but at the same time, it was your mom's not suffering anymore.
No, not anymore.
She suffered quite a bit this year, and especially this last all of October, it was pretty painful.
She suffered a lot.
There was a positive uplift to it. And if you guys need any tips on a good estate planning lawyer, Lisa found one.
Yeah, Mitzi Rivera, right?
That
wonderful.
That funeral home was really
the funeral home, and also
because they have a good
care.
Right. They have a great they have a fortunately notorious reputation for always trying to upsell you or to try to charge you more.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember even watching them on 60 Minutes several years ago, and this particular home was really good, and Mitzi was kind of really good in guiding your family and how to handle the situation to make it as easy as possible, because it's already difficult to deal with from the beginning.
Absolutely. And maybe it was me a little bit too, because when I did talk to the Klein Funeral Homes, I said, don't upsell me. My mom just wanted direct to cremation.
Yeah,
That's it.
You did say that on the phone. You were your mother had just passed away like 2 hours before that, maybe even less. And I was standing outside.
I'm still an advocate for my mother.
I was standing in the driveway.
Yeah.
And at least it was like half traumatized and half kind of, just bent out of shape and whatever.
But I'm still being boss
because
I have to be a boss.
I just couldn't help but put a smirk on my face when she said that. So, okay.
No, I did, because I knew that at the end of the day, they're like wanting to sell you all these different things. And I said, don't try to upsell me. My mom said, just direct to cremation. That's all we need. And it
was pretty funny.
The guy at the end of the day was like, yep, we got you. Don't worry. We're not going to try to sell you anything. We got you.
And they actually did. They kept their word.
No, they did. They were fantastic. So I want to definitely recommend all of them. I'm going to have all of their contact information on this episode as well. But at the end of the day, the thing that I want to close out with is have that conversation, communicate, definitely talk to the people around you about it. Talk to your brothers and sisters. This is a conversation that needs to be had. You do not want to leave things unsaid and undone at the end of the day. I think that's the gift that my mother gave to her 4 kids. She said, I don't want to leave any problems for you guys. I want everything to be settled and clear before I go. Even if your parents are not sick, even if they're healthy and lively and wonderful and living life, have that conversation anyways. It's important to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys did a fantastic job.
Honey, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for
I
including
love
me.
having you along because it just kind of gives me that comfort. You're like my comfort blanket.
Yeah. We're going to miss your mother. She was
We're
great
gonna
people.
miss her. She was a beautiful, lovely lady, and at the end of the day, she was everything she expected to be. She was a mom. She was a beautiful grandmother. She was a beautiful mother-in-law. She took care of all of us. She taught us so many things, and I love that she taught me to be a pragmatic and a resourceful woman, because at the end of the day, that is really who I am. I always come through for people. I always do what I say because my mother taught me that. I'm always punctual because she said punctuality was important. I married my honey because my mom said give a different guy a chance, because you go to the same guys all the time. Give this guy a chance.
Yeah.
And I married my husband. And she, honestly, and I connected the most when I became a mother.
Right.
Because we did butt heads when I was a teenager. I was a very rambunctious, rebellious teenager because I was very independent and just
You
crazy.
still are.
And crazy.
Still
And
are.
my mom was
Still crazy. You're still rambunctious. You're still independent.
And so now,
I think it's a little more intense now than it was 20 years ago.
but my mama was like, she put up with me. And so we put up with each other. And she was my beautiful, beautiful, lovely mother that I love so much. And I'm just so grateful for her and everything that she taught me. And I don't cry anymore. I don't cry. I cried a lot while she was sick because I felt helpless. But now I cry. I don't cry because I feel like she's telling me to move on and move forward. And she left everything settled. And I'm grateful for that. And so
Yeah. I think she was happy.
nothing else that I can do. She was happy.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing she said, and I still remember this, and I want to make sure that I document this and that everybody knows. She said, everybody tells me how I should be so proud of the family that I have and my kids.
You should.
And my kids love me and they take care of me and they're always there for me. And she goes, I am so grateful for my children.
Right.
And that really is the legacy she left behind. She left a close-knit group of kids.
Your family dynamic is unfortunately the exception and not the rule. It's the minority, not the majority. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
But when we know better, we do better. And as young kids, we should definitely try to raise our children in close proximity and in love and in understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, hon. Love you.
Love you too, sweetheart.